This video covers my 5-step system for how to take landscape photos, optimized over a decade as a full-time landscape photographer. Most photographers are making mistakes like shooting in manual mode, using a tripod, owning more than 2 lenses, depending on autofocus, and picking compositions without a plan. This is the fastest way to fail.
So I've been hiking all day, just got to camp, about 20 miles out in the middle of nowhere. There's some huge peaks back through here that I'm looking at for sunset. Got my tent set up here, and then there's just huge alpine basin. I was gonna go down there and scout out some compositions by that lake too, but right now it's about an hour and a half before sunset. And what I always like to do on photography trips is I will actually start shooting about an hour before sunset. And I'll just grab my camera, my tripod, and I'll just look for specific areas that might have good compositions in them. And then I'll just walk around. And why this is really nice, I'll give you guys a tour at camp while I talk. Why this is really nice is because if you've ever been driving all day or hiking all day and then you get to a spot and the light's really good and then you're just not in the flow of shooting yet, you're always second guessing if there's a better composition somewhere else that you're not shooting. And it kind of takes you out of the flow of shooting. So what I like to do is I get set up and I just walk around and I take some practice shots, dialing in the composition, going through the settings that I might want. And this takes all the pressure off because the light's not good yet. Maybe I'll walk down to this lake first, check some spots, I'll shoot up here a little bit. Just have 3 or 4 different compositions. By doing them first, I can kind of narrow down to the one that I like the most. And when it's time for sunset, I just go to my very favorite one and I'll just start shooting it. And since I already went through all the settings and I have the composition dialed in, makes it really nice, really easy to do. But what I always like to do first is I actually just shoot handheld. And it's hard for me to show while holding this GoPro, but the reason I like to shoot handheld first is because the only reason to have a tripod is for longer shutter speeds. There's no reason to be using a tripod just to get ideas for the composition. So if you're holding a camera handheld, just pretend this video screen's the camera, you can move up and down, you can get different angles at the scene. And I'm saying that this peak is the center of attention. So if I'm just holding this handheld, I want to show some things for scale, like these trees right here that kind of encapsulate the foreground. Maybe the leading line of this rock coming down. But if I just put my camera right on my tripod at first, it takes a long time for me just to manipulate the photo around and get the angle right. So what I'll do is just grab my camera handheld, just pick a fast enough shutter speed that I can take some practice shots, and then I'll just move it around, getting an idea of where I want the camera to be. So after I do that, when I have the spot picked, then I actually set up the tripod. And once the tripod's set up, I can go through the actual settings that I'm going to use for the specific shot. And why it's so important to go through the settings is because sometimes you'll have a shot and it's just one exposure. Boom, you're done. But other times you're going to have to take multiple exposures. It might be for the amount of light in the scene, dynamic range, take a darker and a lighter one. It might be for focus stacking or something like that. And oftentimes it's not going to really be known what those different camera settings are or techniques are until you actually go through the process once. So when I'm going through this practice shots before the actual shoot, when the light gets good, I'm doing exactly what I'm going to do for the shoot. So what I also like to do is I like to think what's going to light up in this scene. So the sun's setting right over here. So if I get lucky and there's a break in the clouds down here, it's going to light up here and I can see which faces it's going to hit on these peaks. So it's probably going to hit this face of that rock. It's probably going to hit that right side of that peak over there, and it might hit some down here in the foreground. I'm guessing since this big peak's right here, these trees are going to get blocked up. So by knowing where the light's going to be, I can also design my composition for that. And that's the thing you have to keep in mind when you're shooting before the light gets good, is the light really matters. So when I'm looking at this, if this gets hit with light, that's going to bring my eyes down the edge of this photo, because anything that's bright is going to draw your eyes to it. Anything that's dark is going to push your eyes away. The same goes with saturation. If something gets hit with light, it's going to be more saturated. There'll be more color in it. That grabs your eyes as well. So saturation and light grab your eyes. So if I want the people's eyes that are looking at the photo to get drawn down into this center of attention, and I'm guessing that these clouds are going to get underlit, the clouds will bring my eyes in this way, and this getting hit with light will bring my eyes in this way, and then these trees down here, which will be in dark, won't really grab my eyes, but they're going to help to show the scale of the entire scene. So try to think through the best possible scenario for what the actual shoot's going to do when the light's good, where that light's going to hit, and how you can use that light to get a good composition. Now, why this is important is because when we go over to these other spots and shoot, I'm going to also think about where the light's going to hit if I shoot from that spot. And then when the sunset happens, it all depends on what the clouds are doing in the sky for what's going to get hit with light. So if I'm up here shooting and I notice that these clouds are blocking all this is just all dark, but maybe the clouds move in a way that this all gets hit with light, then even though this might be my favorite composition, if there's no light on it, I would run down to that one that I've practiced as well. So by going through where the light might hit and then going through the compositions, you're really going to be set up, and this has really greatly improved my shot process. So now that I know I like this composition and the lighting I need for it to work, I also like to go through the settings that I'm going to use. So as far as settings go, this is actually a pretty easy one. I'm just going to go through my basic settings here. I always focus first, so I'm just going to focus about 1/3 into the horizontal here. I'm shooting at 28 millimeters, so that's the approximate hyperfocal. If you guys want to learn all my focusing techniques, you can check out my hyperfocal video. It's just called, you can just go on YouTube and type in Dave Morrow back button focus and it'll come up. So I'm just going to focus right here on this tree, back button focus on it, and I just jiggle the focus ring back and forth while watching the live view to make sure that's optimal, just to double check it. All right, that looks good. Base ISO here, and then all I need to do is expose to the right, so I just pull up my histogram. I'm gonna darken it so I can see the very right hand edge there. All right, so that gives me 1/6 of a second. Now nothing's moving in this scene. The trees might be moving a little bit. I'm gonna shoot this one at f11. That'll easily cover this depth of field. So this is a very easy standard shot. If I'm exposing to the right for this scene, since there's clouds out and I'm not shooting directly into the sun, I'm only gonna need a single exposure. So only by going through this do I know that I only need one single exposure for this shot. The only thing I might change is if the wind changes and gets a lot heavier during sunset. You can see I only have 1/10 of a second shutter speed here. I could just increase my ISO up, but I'll control it. All right, so that gives me 1/30th. So that's the only thing that I might change on there, only if those trees are blowing. There's no downside of shooting at ISO 200. Base ISO is 64 on this camera. 200 is like negligible noise. I'll barely even notice it. So it's much better to have something in the foreground and focus and slightly more noise than having those trees moving around and having a blurry foreground, which will really be distracting. All right, so that's the process that I'm going to go through with shooting. Now, the light's going to change, so these settings might be slightly different. F-stop will be the same, ISO might change, and I'll still be exposed to the right. So now I know what I'm doing for this one. So now that I have my favorite composition picked out, at least what I think's my favorite, I'm going to walk down here. I wanted to see if I can get some reflections in this alpine lake of this peak. So here's the second composition I got set up. See the scene here, it's so big it's almost hard to see, but always keep in mind that the first thing I'm doing is, without the tripod on, holding the camera up and down, just manipulating it around. Remember, this is a vertical shot, but you get the idea. If I bring it down lower, anything near the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen is going to get stretched out. So as I bring this at different angles, I can use the composition to stretch the scene. So if you look at the back of the screen here, by having this moss and this rock right down at the bottom of the wide angle, it's going to stretch it out and elongate it. See what it looks like here? An even wider lens here. Same goes with the top, up where this peak's at, up in here. It's going to elongate it and make it look bigger. Now, some scenes are so big, just like this one, that you'll notice that if I want to get the full foreground down here, I barely get over the top of the peak. So what I can actually do here is I can take a second shot with the camera just tilted slightly up some to capture the sky right up above that peak, and then I'll blend them together. So after I get the composition dialed in, I'm sure I like it. Remember, I'm always thinking through what the light's going to be like when the sun sets. Sun's going down over there, so if I get lucky, it's going to light up this peak, and it's going to hit these clouds up here. So if I get the right break over there, it's going to hit these clouds, and it might reflect down on all this and get some really nice alpenglow. Now, the other shot that I had up there, I definitely like that one more. So if the light's good over there, I'm going to shoot that one first. But now I know the scenario that's going to be here. So when I'm thinking through this, if I'm thinking about color harmony, these are just colors that lie across from each other in the color wheel. I have this green down here. So if that lights up with magenta or pink or red, that'll look really nice because it's across from green in the color wheel. It's just called color harmony. You guys can go on YouTube and just search Dave Morrow color harmony. I have a full video on it and a PDF guide that goes with it. So let's go through the basic settings here. And The reason I do this every time with practice shots is so I know the exact settings and the process that I'm gonna shoot. And once I have them down, if the light's good, I'm not getting all worried that I don't know what I'm doing. So for this one, I'm just gonna focus right down here at the approximate hyperfocal. Back button focus, jiggle the focal ring a little bit, just make sure that was optimal. All right, so that's good. Now that I have that dialed in, since this depth of field is pretty large, meaning very close foreground all the way to the far background, I'm gonna shoot this one at f/16. Next, I'll expose to the right, so describing my exposure compensation here. I'm gonna drop it left to make sure I don't have any spikes hanging off that right-hand edge, and I'll just touch it to the right. You guys can also check out my exposed to the right video, Dave Morrow, ETTR, in YouTube. I'll come right up. That gives me 1/3 of a second, which is actually gonna be really nice because it'll make all this water smooth out right here. It'll also make the lake smooth out. And that's one thing that I did not go through with the different scenarios. If this lake is blowing too much because of the wind, then I'm gonna need to use a longer shutter speed to make sure I can see any of that reflective light coming down there. So that'll help me out too. So that's why going through these settings kind of just teases out what might happen in the scenario. And when you're thinking about the composition, you're thinking about the light, where it's gonna hit, and the settings. The combination of all of those are always gonna spin out some ideas for you that you won't have if you get to this in the heat of the moment when the light's good. So by walking through these, you also have more trust in yourself because you know why you're making the decisions. So f/16, ISO 64, I like that 1/6 of a second, so I'll just fire this one off. So the sunset's going down right now. It's okay. The light might poke through, but remember I was talking about how I could maybe get a shot back there if the light poked through and hit those peaks, and it wasn't hitting there, and where I guessed it would hit, it is hitting. So right there, can also see some going back there. So I am gonna shoot this shot first. So the settings I ended up going with is focus at the same spot, right approximate hyperfocal, f/11, and those trees are blowing a little bit, so ISO 200, and I'm just exposed to the right. So I'm just gonna fire this off here. And one good thing to always check, if the trees are barely blowing, just try to time them. You might get lucky. And then try to keep your ISO as low as possible. So since my ISO is fairly low, I'm gonna check these trees. And if they're not moving, then I'm good to go, if I can time it correctly. Because I don't wanna push that ISO up for no reason. I don't know if that face that I was shooting, when I was shooting it was from over here. I don't really think it's getting hit with light. So I think the goal is this composition here. So now that I am sure I like this shot and I got all the settings dialed in, I just wait as the light changes, and every 30 seconds to a minute, I just fire one off. It's looking pretty good. I'm just gonna check, make sure nothing's blowing out. Check the histogram, check the focus point. Then I'll check the closest thing in the scene to me. If I make sure that's sharp, looks good. That light on those peaks back there is really nice. That looks good too. So I'm gonna try one at f/16. And I'm just watching these trees. I'm gonna time it. And the reason is because this was pretty sharp, but I think I can get a little bit sharper in the foreground. Since that's such a nice leading line down into the photo, I just wanna make sure it's super sharp. So before focus stacking, always just try the f/16 first. And then what I like to do is I'll zoom in on the spot, and then you can just hit this little dial button when you're actually zoomed in on it. So watching the back of the screen here, I can just go to the closest thing in my scene. And then I'll just go on this dial button. That'll go between the last shot I took and this shot. And it's definitely sharper. I still don't think this is heck yeah light. If you guys check out my 5 composition secrets video, my #1 priority for every shot, if I'm not screaming in my mind, heck yeah, meaning I can't wait to process this, I'm probably just not even gonna shoot it that much. This is maybe possible to bring some nice color out of, but there's only really color right back in there, and that light died quickly. But you can see the light was hitting right up there, and now it's just gone, which means it's blocked up by a cloud because it's still like 10 minutes from sunset. So now that that light's gone, I really don't have a shot, but since I do have nice color going back here, I'm gonna keep firing this off since I'm already in the process. Little lenticular cloud forming right there. But great night out here. And even if I don't get the shot, 90% of the time I'm not getting the shot. But if I set up like this every time, then I know if the shot comes, I'm not going to miss it, because that's the worst thing, right? Photography is already hard enough, but if you're not setting up to know you have the right shot coming and the light's good and you miss it, then one of those small chances you had to get the shot is just gone. So going through this process every time will just make you a way better photographer.
So on my website, I've created what I find to be the most in-depth landscape photography resource on the planet. It contains all my knowledge, everything I've learned in 15 years as a pro. So you can just visit my website and visit the photo guides and videos page. And this contains every video and written guide I've ever done. What I'd like to point you to is my landscape photography guides and PDFs. This explains my step-by-step decision process for every skill set in landscape photography. So if you just click on one, for example, you could pick on any one, but I would recommend starting at the top. Let's just go here. And I update these constantly, so it's a complete knowledge base with always updated material. So you can just read it off my website. You can also download every guide as a PDF and get instant access to all of them if you prefer the PDF method. But let's go to the table of contents. You'll see I wrote them out step by step, so you never have to guess why I'm making different decisions. And then if I just click one, you can jump right to it or just scroll down through the entire guide. Now, I used to work as an aerospace engineer and I did technical writing. So when I write this stuff out, I'm not just telling you guys to make decisions and follow me. I'm explaining why I make the decisions, and then I'm letting you make the choices for yourself so you can test it out. But I highly recommend this website. I've dumped hundreds and hundreds of hours into this, probably thousands of hours over the years to teach everything I know, which makes me actually better out in the field, but it also helps you. So go check it out. All the downloads are absolutely free. Just go to DaveMorrowPhotography.com. Thanks for being here.